Good evening, kids, parents, and the chess teachers. In the lesson number 26 for the future masters, we are going to talk about the Rook Endgame that happened in the game between Hugo Suechting versus Frank Marshalls in 1902. Now, in New York City, in downtown, there is a chess club that's called Marshall Chess Club. And if you ever get a chance to visit New York, you should definitely see that historical place. Now, let's see what happened in this game. Look, if we analyze the game, like we can see that I immediately see this rook on f4, right? That's really rook that is very nicely positioned, and uh, you may notice that white has a problems with the pawns, pawn on f3 and pawn on h3. They are quite weak, right? Um, Also, rook is controlling the file here. So black is better in this position, but of course, it's very difficult to win a game like this, right? So let's see what happened here. Rook to b3 and rook f8, right? Okay, that's a quite logical move, right? Making a pressure on the pawn and f3, doubling the rooks. King d4 and d5. All right, pin. So now, of course, black wants to take on e4, rook g1. This pawn is attacked, so black needs to play g5, rook g3. Okay, so right now, the white rooks are quite passive, especially the rook on g3. It is a kind of rook you really don't want to have on the chessboard. On the other side, the black rooks are very nicely positioned, so that's a small advantage that black has here. King e6, b5, and king d6. Right now, the idea here is, of course, to push pawn to c5. Pawn takes, and rook c3, right? Not allowing that move c5. Rook a8, king d3, rook a1. So now both rooks are active. Pay attention, rook on f4 is active, rook on a1 is active. On the other side, again, the rook on g3 is very passive, and even rook on c3 is not doing well. So in a king and rook endgames, it is very important the activity of the rooks, but of course also the activity of the king. Pawn takes and king takes. So at the moment, the black king is better than a white king because the black king is more advanced. It is on the 5th rank. And in addition to that, you have those marvelous rooks. King e3, check, and rook h1, check. So now we have a transition. We talked about those moves before. So we are moving from two rook endgame into one rook endgame. So what's happening right now here is, again, the black rook is more active than a white rook. The black king is more active than a white king. Now, the game is probably a draw, but in rook endgames, like in any other endgames, if you're under the pressure, it is very difficult to make the draws, right? In a practical games, it's hard to find always the accurate moves. So after this move, black played rook h2, and this is where white made a mistake. White played king e1, and that's what lost the game. The accurate move is king g1. We can come back to that move later on. So black is taking the pawn. And now after this move, look, suddenly the white king is in big trouble facing the checkmates, right? So although we have a two pawns against two pawns, what matters in the endgame is the position of the king. And the white king is in a really, really big trouble here on the first rank. So now rook f1, rook takes, and h5. And look now how black really executed this position very nicely. King d4. this pawn on h2 is h5 is very important. And now we have this idea of, look, a rook h5, right? So rook goes from behind of the pawn, supporting the pawn, and the white rook cannot do much here. Also, what's important, that rook is protecting the pawn. So after king f3, white had to capture because otherwise king would go to g2. And here, of course, pawn cannot fight against the rook because pawn is not advanced enough. So after king e4, black is easily going to capture that pawn and win the game. So let's go back now to the position where white could play king g1. That was a better move. And here there is a chance for a draw with an active rook. So white is activating the rook, and here in this position with an active rook, white has a chance. So how about this? For a homework, you can play this position with a computer. I said, look, you just click here on this button and you can play with a computer and practice this position. Try to make a draw. If you cannot do it, if you lose the game, then you can switch the colors and ask the computer to show you how to make a draw. I also would really highly suggest to you that you go to the beginning position here, take a 10 minutes on the chess clock, and play this with your friends in the after-school programs, or play with your chess teachers. The other option is, if you don't have school programs, then you can play with a computer. Like I said here, look, you can click on this button and play with a computer, and you can do the same in the chess.com that also has a beautiful engine where you can practice this position. You are going to learn so much if you practice this by yourself. It's not just enough to see this video. Okay, bye-bye. I'll see you next time.